This is my pride and joy, my mining machine. It's been running like a dream for weeks, but suddenly it just stopped working. I've tried everything I know, but I can't figure it out.
Before we jump in and start tinkering, I think it's important to understand how a heat engine actually works. After all, this machine seems to rely on heat from the lava to get its power.
An excellent point. Knowledge first, action second. Let's head back to my lab. I've got the perfect model to explain the principles of heat engines. Alright, before we fix your mining machine, we need to understand the basics of how it works. What we're dealing with here is a heat engine. At its core, a heat engine converts thermal energy into useful work. But to do that, it needs two things. A thermal energy source, QH, like your lava, and a thermal energy sink, QL, like water to cool the system.
And the key to understanding all this lies in the first law of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only transformed or transferred. In a heat engine, heat flows from high temperature source, does work, and what's left over is expelled into the low temperature sink.
Exactly! I think of it this way. Your mining machine relies on this flow of energy to function. Heat engines operate on a cycle. They continuously repeat this process to keep providing work, but there's a catch.
What kind of catch?
Well, that's where the Kelvin-Planck statement of thermodynamics comes in.
In a heat
It
engine,
tells us that it's impossible to convert all the heat from the source into work. Some energy must always be rejected to the sink. Your machine can't ever be perfectly efficient, ever. Let me show you what a violation of this would look like. This is an example of violating the Kelvin-Planck statement. If all the heat is turned into work, the machine overheats and stops working entirely. There's no sink to absorb the excess heat. That's why your machine depends on both the source and the sink to function properly.
so if we can't make it perfectly efficient, how can we improve it?
Good question. The key is to increase the temperature differential between the source and the sink. The greater the difference in temperature, the more useful work we can extract. Efficiency depends on this ratio, where TH is the temperature of the high source, and TL is the temperature of the low source.
So the hotter my lava, or the cooler my water, the better my mining machine works?
Exactly! But keep in mind, even with a large temperature differential, some energy will always be wasted as heat. That's just the nature of thermodynamics.
And heat engines aren't the only machines that deal with these principles. There's also something called the coefficient of performance, or COP, which measures efficiency for heat pumps. For a heat engine, the focus is on converting heat to work, but for heat pumps, we're looking at how much heat is transferred relative to the work input. Let's head back to the cave and see what's wrong with your mining machine.
Let's tie this back to your mining machine. It's a heat engine, so its efficiency depends on how effectively it uses the thermal energy from the lava and expels waste heat into the water sink.
I think I understand now. If the sink gets too warm, the efficiency drops, and if the lava isn't hot enough, the engine won't run effectively. What do you think is wrong? Here are two possibilities. 1, the heat sink isn't working, or 2, the TH isn't hot enough. Which one should we check first?